Speaking of, live from Butler, Pennsylvania, one and only George Webb, investigative journalist, on the Dude Maker hotline here with us. And George, you gallivanted from one coast all the way to the other because that's how you roll.
Yes, it is, Mike. And I love your show, as you know, and it seems like you're one of the only guys out there punching for the American people, and I love that, you know. And who was the first person I got a call from? Most people don't care that we went to Butler. Most people don't care we're doing the deep dive research. Most people don't care that we're not accepting this 20-year-old as the Lee Harvey Oswald. We know another assassination attempt is coming, and I got to have tremendous respect for you because you're the first guy who called me and said, let's not let this happen again. So hats off to you.
Well, you know what? I learned from you, brother. I've learned so much from you in my 4 interviews with you about the Kennedy assassination and all the other deep state shenanigans. You know, what was I reading the other day? And I said, that's a Webb question. We were talking about something, and I went, that's a Webb question. It might have been something to do with Marilyn Monroe. Okay. Let's unpack what we know about Matthew Thomas Crook. I'm with you. I'm going like, okay, I saw the videos. I mean, okay, he doesn't even have the self-respect of any good movie assassin of wearing camo fatigues, jack boots, the black toboggan ski mask, so only his eyes are showing, and latex gloves. Instead, he shows up in sneakers, ankle-high socks, cargo short khaki pants, and a gray T-shirt. So, what do we know about this kid?
Well, he's from a part of Pennsylvania. He's supposedly a kind of Republican kid. He was in this Black Rock video that everybody's seen. Talking about the Chicago outfit managing teachers' pensions. Who makes movies like that? Chicago outfit, right? I mean, so they made sure they got this kid in a video, but he doesn't have any of the profile, no background in criminal activities, right? But we do have an organization right there in Carnegie near Bethel Park where he lives, which did a lot of Antifa recruiting and has done a lot of very violent intercept or whatever you want to call it, disruption activity for people on the right. Antifa is an organization that doesn't want you to have free speech. It's anti-free speech. It's not anti-anything else. There's not any platform that they're pushing. It's just to shut you up, right? And so that's why we're looking at the Antifa recruiting camp, because it's awful nice to have a patsy. You know, the thing we learned about Oswald is this family called the Hale family got him his place in Dallas, got him his place in New Orleans, went to high school with him. They knew he didn't have parenting. And you bring these people along because you don't want to cover the fact that the assassination is for a lot of other things other than just somebody trying to make a name for themselves. And we look at the Kennedy assassination, and it seems like Oswald's brought along for the ride. And then it's conveniently wrapped up, and let's move on to the next thing. And I think that's the same way with this kid. He's brought along by the Antifa organization, and now it's a Republican kid that was just confused, and that's why he shot the president. It's going to happen again if we don't dig deeper than that.
Yeah, and by the way, George, breaking news. It's a huge day in politics, and MSNBC has just pulled Morning Joe off the air. They're apparently worried that Scarborough and his communist concubine, his unhuman communist concubine, the daughter of Brzezinski, Mika Brzezinski, can't say nice things about someone trying to assassinate the former president of the United States. The decision by MSNBC to leave one of its most recognizable programs on the sidelines amid a seismic politics-driven news cycle, with the RNC getting underway today in the wake of the Saturday shooting, is certain to raise eyebrows. A person familiar with the matter told CNN that the decision was made to avoid a scenario in which one of the show's stable of 24+ guests might make an inappropriate comment on live television. George, it's just like I have been saying it all morning long. The unhumans are unhumans. They hate us. They're incapable of saying intimate, good, natured, inspired things about this. And I am so glad you're in Butler, Pennsylvania, because you're right. This was the first attempt. This is the first time. These people aren't playing games. By the way, they tried to take him out before the RNC, it seems to me, so that Nikki Haley could be nominated. Now, I'm not accusing Nikki Haley of anything, but that's who would have been thrust into the breach, if you will. If Trump's in the hospital recovering from a head wound, let's just say he survives, then there are probably going to be a riot at the RNC, and they're going to probably try to get him off the ticket here. So when you say that he's a patsy, where, because the ballistics say that the shot came from where Matthew Thomas Crooks was, don't they?
Yeah, I'm not saying that there wasn't a few shots from Crooks. I'm not saying they didn't talk him into making a few shots. But what I am saying is that gives you the time to now do your thing. We're looking at this kid named Yurick, Yearick.
Yep.
And he's been implicated. Roger Stone, who I know as a friend, and other people I know as close to Roger, has good information. This guy's been involved in assassination attempts before, disruption activities with Antifa in 2016 in Pittsburgh. He was involved in Seattle. Again, these are Chaz and Chop, if you remember, in Minnesota. These are anti-speech activities. They're not Antifa protesting against fascism. There is no fascism. There is only free speech happening, and they're going after free speech. And they're targeting people with murder to shut them up. It's the old Chicago way. And that's what we have to recognize this is. We can't say it's somebody who didn't have a hobby, and therefore they climbed on a roof. You can talk to like Rittenhouse, if you remember.
Right.
You can talk somebody into climbing a roof saying he's a part of some security detail. Or whatever, and get his head blown off. Or you could talk him into taking a pot shot at the president as his, initial mission, with his initial Antifa mission. I don't know how he got up there. I don't know how he transported himself. I don't trust the FBI in this investigation. That's why we're here. That's why we're here.
And then you could also say, in talking people into things, remember that when supposedly Timothy McVeigh went by himself to go blow up the Edgar Murrah building, he didn't go by himself. There was someone else in the front seat of that van. The videotape showed it. They had eyewitnesses to it. People said they saw two people walking away from that van. There were eyewitnesses to all this. McVeigh, for his part, maintained to the end, and I know his father did, that he didn't know that there was a bomb in that van. So did they just talk Timothy McVeigh and tell him, look, just drive the van there and leave it and walk away. We'll take care of the rest. So, yeah, you can talk people into being duped and to showing up to do things by not telling them what they're supposed to do. But in this case, Cross was told, apparently, to shoot Trump.
Yeah, and that may or may not have happened. And we don't know how he got up there from Bethel Park. With the car and so forth. Where did he leave the car? All these things. Remember, within 2 hours, you're not this old, but I am. Within 2 hours, we had Oswald on the screen after the Kennedy shooting. This is the guy who did it, and they assured us there's no conspiracy. Within 2 hours. Right. With this one, and we had the rifle. We had Dan Rather sitting on the cardboard boxes on the 6th floor, if you remember, holding the rifle. This is the Carcano that did it. The whole case closed. It's solved within like a day. This one is everything that we've tried to push for transparency here. We've been knocked down at every step of the way, right? They're trying to shut up witnesses as fast as possible. We're trying to get to them before they can. We're asking journalists, any citizen journalist or anybody who cares about this not happening again, come to Butler. I'll meet with you. I'll introduce you to citizen journalists here. We'll get to depositions. We'll get all the information out. This is sort of like the Warren Commission. We're going to go ahead and just establish the Warren Commission here.
Right.
So they can't do it a year later and then bury and kill all the witnesses. We want to get everybody's statement before they kill everybody.
George Webb is the independent journalist, and he's on our Dewmaker Hotline. He's in Butler, Pennsildania. Have you spoken to anyone yet?
Yeah, we have, and I'm trying to keep confidences, but we're looking at all sorts of things, Mike, and I tell you what, there's an amazing undercurrent here, just like there was in the Kennedy assassination with all the aviation technology with General Dynamics. And remember, all the General Dynamics people are the people that host Oswald and introduce him to all the people in with like the Warren Sheldon, all the people in the oil business. When he gets to Dallas and they get him the job at the Texas School Book Depository, the same thing with aviation and rocket and so forth in space. We see here in this case, we have the Advanced Glass Company, AGC company that the shooter was on. They make Corel. This is the Frank Preston made Corel, the space glass, the glass for all the canopies for all the fighters. This also the glass for withstanding nuclear bombs. He's sent out to the Eniwetok Island to see the explosions of the atomic bomb. This is also all the glass that's in any kind of armored personnel carrier or any kind of vehicle, Humvee, tank, helicopter, shatterproof glass. And then the person who shot through the head, this Compatore guy, he also spends 33 years, it's not mentioned in any of the news, 33 years at this company called JSE, which is plastics, which is molded plastics when you do layered molded plastics, laminated molded plastics, for things like canopies for the B-17, the B-24, if you remember the Liberator bomber, the belly gun,
Yep.
the turret gun on the top. This is all advanced aviation, and what happens is when there's a shooting, now the FBI goes in and seizes all the premises and seizes everything on the premises, so they get to look through all the computer files, all the patents. I just find it very odd that Compatore, and people have sent him $500,000 so far, which is fantastic, to this whole horrible murder of this guy shot through the head, 50 years old, leaves a family behind. But it's not in the same line. There's a deviation, a big deviation from the Trump shot to his shot to the other people that are injured. A wide, flux there. It looks like almost a 20% deflection there, and that's odd. That to me rings of two shooters. And again, if so much wasn't stake at these glass and plastics, the Gorilla Glass that's used in your iPhone and so forth.
Right.
If there wasn't so much at stake in terms of aviation and space industries, I wouldn't look at it. But if it was from Farmer Jones's house where the shot came from, I wouldn't have these suspicions. But to me, this looks so much like General Dynamics at the JFK assassination. I'm like, oh my God, it's another General Dynamics.
I'm going to send to my producer. There's a guy on Twitter you may want to follow, George. You may have already seen it. C3P MEME, C3P meme. C3P meme, this was sent to me by one of my executive producers, meaning a fan and a listener who contributes to the show by sending me info. Sent me this video. He shot over 38 minutes of video on Saturday. One of the pieces of video, Maggie, if you take that video I just sent you, fast forward to 2 minutes and 33 seconds, and George, you can do the same. He shows the Compatore, he shows Corey Compatore in the crowd, and his comment on showing Corey Compatore in the crowd, he says, well, this guy, where I saw Corey Compatore is, he's not in the line of sight of Trump. He's at least, if you're looking at a clock and Trump's at 12 o'clock, Corey Compatore is at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's not even close.
Yeah, that's where I was talking about the 24 to 24 degree deviation, and that's not usually as bad a shot as they say this kid was. That's not the same thing, and this is where I say a second shooter. If you listen to the sound pattern, you get two shots, and then you get this other one where there's bang, 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 like 4 shots. I'm not trying to put a guy in the grassy knoll here, but if you look at his father, Joe Compatore, he has these laminated flow molding plastics that is used in aviation, really, Jeeps were made there here in Butler, right? So in World War II, there's a lot of war industry that was made here. And then again, Raytheon picks up all the chips here. Raytheon, through an acquisition, picks up all the chips. That's Vannevar Bush again, with the Office of Scientific Technology picking it up, all the chips. It's almost like they're just Raytheon and Lockheed are running around with a vacuum cleaner, sucking up all the industries from World War II. And so I don't want it to be, I don't want to have to follow these leads and go into the metadata. I want it to be from Farmer Jones's barn, but it's not. It's from these places that were the famous places of the Manhattan Project and various breakthroughs in technology for warfare that guy chooses to shoot from. And when that happens, it just reminds me of the General Dynamics connection to Lee Harvey Oswald with the Hales. We got to look into it. Well, and I'm glad people send money for the compatory folks, but people also should come here and do some research and maybe send some citizen journalists here some money, because we're the ones that are going to prevent this from happening again. And if we don't out this, and it just becomes another Lee Harvey Oswald story, it's going to happen again before the election.
Well, and that's why there should be an investigation. So, speaking of, I'm going to now just one final thing about the kind of the parallel here to the Kennedy assassination. This was an attempt; it wasn't an actual assassination here. The catastrophic failure of law enforcement on this cannot be an accident. That, to me, is the proverbial smoking gun. Would you agree?
Yes, and the gal who was the head of Pepsi that comes into Secret Service, I can't count how many Secret Service agents I've interviewed in Washington over my 5 years in Washington. Nothing like this could have ever happened. Even the most junior guy would say we would have eyes all over any roof within 500 yards. I mean, everybody's seen JFK. Everybody knows that it's from a high perch with a high-powered rifle. I mean, really, all you have to do is, buy a $5 movie ticket to know that you cover these things off. Nobody could be climbing up in the middle. You would have warnings. You would have those places even cordoned off. There would be no access where you could lean a ladder. Or
That's right.
I mean, this is almost like right out of the Lindbergh Baby. Now they've thrown a ladder into the story. It's the gal who's from Pepsi that came over to run Secret Service should be fired.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten into that. George, I'm going to let you get back to investigating, and we'll have you back on as soon as you have something to report. I appreciate your work, brother. God bless you.
God bless you, Mike. Thank you for all your work.
All right, you're very welcome. That's our friend George Webb reporting live out there on the scene. I know I'm in the chat room and I'm reading some of your commentary, and I'm seeing all this. You take what is on the surface. Okay, look, they fed you a narrative.